Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome back to Topic of Discussion. Today's topic, a very, very adult cartoon. More specifically, South Park. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does Pie Guy think of this show? It's really gross out, like Family Guy, but it also has some good writing sometimes. Does he like it? Does he hate it? What does he think of it? Well, before I tell you, I'm going to give a disclaimer. If you're under the age of Chef would say 17. Do not watch this show. Please, do not watch this show. I know, all the kids are doing it. I know, you're lame if you don't. Don't. Seriously. Two main reasons here. It's gonna ruin your innocence. There are horribly filthy things in this show that you do not want to see. And before you're thinking that, no, none of them are very much in the sexy way. It's just really gross, And two, you're not gonna get it. I'm gonna go into it, but a lot of South Park is satire, A, and B, there's a lot of people out there, mostly teenagers, who seem to think things like the show is right in its portrayal of, let's say Cartman. They think Cartman is a hero. Let me spoil it for you, folks. Cartman is pretty much a Nazi. And he's done a lot worse things than that. But Cartman is not a role model. None of the people on the show are role models. And, nothing they do on the show should be imitated by anyone, let alone kids. I think it even says that in the disclaimer. Okay, so that being said, I'm sure you're all going to post in the comments being like, I'm 12, but I'm very mature, so I'm going to watch the show. Whatever, I don't care. I'm just going to ignore you. Alright, however, for those of us of age, and again, being a kid, there's nothing wrong with it, trust me. When you get to be my age, there's a lot of annoying things you gotta deal with. But anyway, my opinion on South Park, for when you are ready to watch it, or if you're old enough, it's a good show, alright? It does go into gross-out territory. A lot. I'm not gonna lie on that. If that sort of stuff, is very distasteful to you, then you want to avoid this show. And that's fine. But, because it's not for everyone. It's the type of show that is not for everyone. However, if you're into satire, if you're very much into satire, I do recommend you at least check it out. Don't think that just because it has gross out humor, that's all the show is. Because while it does contain a lot of it, there's a lot of thought behind it. Like, there's a reason for it. In later episodes, seasons 1 through, let's say, 4, It's a lot of rough writing. It's more gross out, without much of a point. Even the creators realize, they can't even watch those anymore. They're just kind of very rough, very prototypes of what the show is now. However, the show, it's got some good satire in it. I'm gonna take this episode as an example, because it was in the documentary I just saw called 6 Days to Air. Yeah, if you can believe it, they write, animate, and voice act and everything for this show for an episode in just 6 days, which is amazing compared to the 11 months that the Simpsons writers and have to wait for their show to get back to them. It's a good documentary. I suggest you check it out. But anyway, the episode Human Centipede. Wow. Okay, so the plot of the episode is that everyone reads the iTunes user agreement license, which, unlike in the real world, where no one does. I mean, you just click through the 26-page thing. You just scroll down and click agree. You don't know what Apple says in there. You could have been sold into indentured servitude, and you would have no idea. But yeah, anyway, everyone in this South Park world, which is nothing like the real world, it's a parody of the real world. Everyone's stupid. Just keep that in mind. So everyone reads this thing. The joke being that Kyle doesn't. One of the boys doesn't read it, and he just scrolls through it and clicks OK, like everyone in the real world does. Okay, but as it turns out, there was some bad things in there that Apple can now do to Kyle legally, and they take him and they use him in an experiment, which turns out to be the similar one to the one in Human Centipede, which is another gross movie that kids shouldn't see, but. It's gross, trust me. And, Kyle has to do this disgusting thing, and it's all about because he didn't read the user agreement. And meanwhile, Cartman's all whining about how he doesn't have an iPad and stuff. It's a good episode because it's about Apple. First of all, it parodies our dependence, some of us dependence on Apple products, but it also parodies the user agreement, which is just a little nitpick about life. It's like you can relate to that, and you get it. So that's a good episode to kind of jump into. It is a little bit gross, but not insanely gross. There's a lot of grosser episodes. And that's the thing of it all, that it has solid writing, and I mean, it doesn't necessarily have heart like The Simpsons does, but it has a lot of brain power to it. And in fact, the whole my opinion on Family Guy, I share it with them. If you watch the Cartoon Wars two-parters, yeah, Cartman pretty much expresses my opinion of the show. Not that I ever want to be compared to Cartman. Please don't compare me to Cartman. Don't compare anyone to Cartman. That's awful. But Cartman's funny to watch, because he's ridiculous and horrible, and you should never and will never imitate his actions. Although some people do. That's what's great about the show. It's so far out there that you can acknowledge this isn't anything close to real life. So I'm okay with watching it. Another good episode for satirical purposes, I do believe it's actually in like the 4th season or something. It's one of the better earlier episodes. It's called It Hits the Fan, where they say the S word like a couple hundred times in the episode. They wanted to see how many times they could say it uncensored. I do believe it was uncensored in its original airing, uncensored on television. And they have a counter and it goes up, and okay, so you have the vulgarity of all the cursing, but the cursing is there for a reason. As a matter of fact, in South Park, a TV show, in the episode is using the S word for the very first time in prime time. And everyone goes nuts over it, and everyone's like, well, if it's okay on TV, it's okay to say it any time, and everyone starts using the S word very liberally. And they're just saying it's but it turns out that the reason curse words were, invented was because if you said them too much, then, this mythical beast would come out and destroy the world. So you can't say the words. And it's, it's exaggerated, of course, but, it's like, I don't know, it just kind of nails the whole, why society finds cursing wrong, why it's, it makes fun of it, but it also kind of celebrates it. And that's the thing about South Park. It makes fun of everything. Every religion, every, ethnic group, everyone. It makes fun of everyone. And that's why it's okay. Because it doesn't draw the line at, oh, well, this is our religion, so we're not going to make fun of it. It even celebrates things about religions. It said that Mormonism is the one true religion on the show. And it's like, okay. It's sometimes it doesn't have the political agenda that Family Guy does, but at the same time you can see the messages that they're trying to convey, and you can understand them. It's not like a moral like you'd find in a kid's cartoon. It's like, okay, I'll give you the one on Mormonism where on the show they say, well, the religion's a bunch of crock. The whole the mythology behind it's a crock, but because the values are amazing, and the families raise their kids in an amazing way. Mormonism's great. It knocks everything, but it also kind of hits certain points about reality that you get. And that's the thing about South Park, is that it's not the real world in any way, shape, or form, but certain things mirror it, and certain things, are the complete opposite of it. And so, yeah, like I said, if you've been avoiding the show because of the vulgarity, if you're of age, give it a second look, because there's some intelligence behind it. But if it grosses you out too much, that's totally understandable, because there are episodes that it just goes there because it can go there, and on that account, I can't defend it. There's a lot of bad episodes, I will say that, but the episodes that nail it, like the Cartoon Wars or Human Sentai Pad, episodes like that, it hits the fan, like it really nails it. Really clever. So that's all I got to say. Post in the comments, your opinion on the show, if you've seen it and are of age. If you are not of age, I do not approve, but I can't stop you, so I'm probably just going to ignore you in the comments. Alright? Bye, girls. Out.